less hail. Severe storms rolled through during the rush hour. I'm tracking more rain tonight and the impact to your morning commute.
Engine 4, Engine 5, Engine 13, Engine 20, out of service for manpower.
A crucial staff shortage for Baltimore's fire department. The head of the fire union shares what's behind it and how it affects your safety. Millions more in COVID relief money doled out today, but once it's allocated, there's little to no oversight. Our team is demanding transparency from the city. Fox 45 News Project Baltimore gets results for students whose rights were violated by city schools.
I feel like such a proud mom, like, yay, the fight is, it went somewhere.
The changes after our investigation and the struggles they're still facing. A policy restricting certain flags in Anne Arundel County schools.
Feels sinister.
The reason behind it.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Maxine Stryker.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Severe weather moving out of our area right now. This is a look at the dark clouds and rain rolling into the city, though, earlier today.
The storm brought heavy rain, even hail to some parts of the state.
You can see that hail and coming down in Lutherville, and that's on the top left of your screen. Fran sent us the picture on the top right. You can see pea-sized hail fell in Parkton.
On the bottom left, the rain falling right outside our news station, and Teresa sent us that picture there on the bottom right of the clouds and rain rolling into White Marsh.
The storms knocked out power to a few thousand people. The BGE power outage map shows about 4,000 people still without power at this hour. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with the latest on this forecast. Jonathan.
Yeah, as promised, the hail, the high winds, now the cleanup. Severe thunderstorm watch remains in effect for Cecil County. Everybody else has been dropped out of this, although still around Aberdeen and Betterton and even Bel Air and Edgewood, some leftover showers and maybe even a rumble, but that is tail end. Look, some better news. Nice little break coming in from the west, and it looks like that is going to be lasting us through much of the overnight hours. Although it's not out of the question, there could be a stray shower or rumble here or there through about 11:30 and 2:15 in the morning. It won't be the severe weather that we've seen, and you should wake up dry tomorrow, but more could be coming tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to let you know if it's going to be severe for you, and we're going to take a check on some of the damage reports. That's all on my full Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News also keeping an eye on the flight boards at BWI. It looks like the storm put a wrench in some people's travel plans. Dozens of flights were delayed or canceled this morning. And scan the QR code on your screen to show us the aftermath of tonight's storms in your neighborhood. It will take you right to our website. If you can safely take pictures and videos of the weather, we want to see them every time it storms. You can always submit them at foxbaltimore.com/chime-in.
Fox 45 News is working for you tonight, demanding accountability for your tax dollars, quality of life, and safety. We are getting a better look at the city's first responder shortage. Fox 45 demanding answers after a troubling announcement dispatchers made over the weekend. One group is waiting to see if a judge will take up their case against BGE and the company's project of installing thousands of external gas regulators on homes across the city. Fox 45 News is pressing city council members as they vow to hold a hearing on this issue. Plus, the city is doling out millions of dollars to some nonprofit groups, but it is still not clear exactly how that money will be used. Our team of reporters demanding accountability, starting with Rebecca Pryor. She's following your tax dollars. Rebecca?
Yeah, just today, the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement allocating another $13 million of the city's ARPA funding to community organizations. And that's on top of the $16 million that they've already allocated. This as Fox 45 continues to investigate one nonprofit that's accused of wasting that federal funding.
Christopher Irvin.
We're trying to get Baltimore to a better place.
He's the owner and founder of Lazarus Right, a local nonprofit assisting ex-offenders with reentry. Since its inception in 2016, the organization, only consisting of 2 part-time employees, managing less than $50,000 a year. That was until the start of this year. The city granting Lazarus Right a $1.6 million contract under the mayor's Clean Corp program, which allocated $15 million of the city's COVID relief funding to nonprofits tasked with hiring crews to help pick up trash across the city. But Irvin's contract ultimately canned. The contract termination letter claiming Lazarus Right misused up to $267,000 taxpayer dollars, missing money Irvin will have to pay back if he fails to provide proof that it was spent properly. The letter specifying that proof due June 2nd and the money due last Friday. And yet, so far, the city refusing to say exactly how much was owed and where it was spent. Meanwhile, Fox 45 uncovering documents revealing Irvin filing for bankruptcy and his home in foreclosure just months before the city handed him a check for more than $400,000. When asked if Lazarus Wright was properly vetted by the city, the mayor's office sending Fox 45 a statement reading in part, quote, Lazarus Wright was a partner nonprofit that successfully cleaned their awarded neighborhoods but struggled with fiscal compliance. In alignment with the monitoring and oversight controls in place for all Clean Corp partners, the contract with Lazarus Wright was terminated. But could more have been done to prevent your tax dollars from being wasted?
There's a couple places with ARPA funds where concerns were raised. That's one of them.
Councilman Yitzi Schleifer believes so.
We definitely have to make sure that when money's going out the door and it's taxpayer money, that it's met with the proper transparency and accountability.
Schleifer proposing a bill that would create a more robust oversight system for when public dollars are given to private companies, especially as the city continues to spend large portions of its $641 million ARPA funding on nonprofits.
You don't need a bill in order to do this stuff. I mean, the ARPA office can be putting these controls in place already.
Back to the tax dollars misspent by Irvin, who's also running for public office after countless calls when ignored. Fox 45 knocking on his door. His car was in the driveway, but no answer. Instead, we overheard Irvin on the phone with his neighbor.
Can you just tell him we'd really like to hear his side of the story?
He said he's not talking to you guys. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on.
He said he won't talk to us?
No, he said he knows you've been calling him or something.
Today, Fox 45 filed a Maryland Public Information Act request with the city to learn just how much money Lazarus Wright misspent. As a news time tonight, we're still waiting for a response. Reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. The Baltimore City Council will hold an investigative hearing with BGE about the utility company's plans to put gas regulators on people's homes, whether or not the homeowner wants them. Last week, you'll remember 3 taxpayers were arrested for blocking BGE equipment in protest. Now the council says it wants answers.
They say the best way to install them to be safe is outside. So BG&E got to explain to the council, to the community, what is safe. If you already installed them inside the house and you say the safest is outside, what about those ones that have been installed inside the house? And it has not been a clear understanding of that. The contractors say one thing, BGE say another thing, so the idea is we need to ask those hard questions to find out.
Fox 45's Amy Simpson was there when those protesters were arrested last week. She brought it to you live on air. She has the latest on the ongoing controversy.
Along Federal Hills Warren Avenue this morning, a visible police presence as utility work continues in this Baltimore community. Today's construction just 2 blocks away.
This is an abomination.
From the site of Thursday's protest against BGE's ongoing work to install thousands of external gas regulators. 3 women were arrested as they intentionally blocked utility crews.
We have asked a million times, show us the data that this is safer. And they can't produce it.
BGE maintains that the external regulators improve safety and will bolster gas delivery for customers citywide. But these women, so opposed to the external meters, they spent a night behind bars. They're also 2 of the 14 named plaintiffs suing BGE, joined by more than 100 other unnamed Baltimoreans, some of whom say their gas was shut off for not agreeing to the construction outside their homes, though the company claims it did provide the required 14 days notice.
It is no doubt irreparable harm for BG&E to be cutting people's gas off with no notice.
On WBAL radio this morning,
you look into it, and when you start looking in even a little bit, it becomes very clear that this is about BGE profit gouging at our expense and has nothing to do with safety.
Through Vignaraja, who's representing plaintiffs in that class action lawsuit against BGE, speaking to the legal battle.
And we're going to hopefully convince the court that there's a right way to do this and there's a wrong way to do this, and BGE has done this unlawfully.
BGE said last week it would not comment on pending or threatened legal action. Meanwhile, residents say the external meters are damaging historic homes, roads, and sidewalks, pose a safety risk for being so close to the road. Also fearful the construction will bring utility rate hikes for everyone down the line.
This is not about Federal Hill, Fells Point. It is about the entire city. This program is about increasing our rates and lining the pockets of BG&E executives. That is not okay.
Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
When it comes to the city council hearing on the matter, a date has not yet been set, but Councilman Robert Stokes tells Fox 45 News he hopes to have the hearing in the next few weeks. The council has had similar hearings on schools and the Safe Streets program in the past few months, but critics say they've failed to ask the tough questions during those hearings.
They didn't bear down on it because they didn't have an answer to the problem. And, it's always like, well, let's spend more money. Let's have more tutors.
What an absolute shame not to take advantage of this opportunity to find out where the dollars are being spent, but also to find out how this program can actually help people.
The council has yet to schedule another hearing on absenteeism in Baltimore City schools. They first called for the hearing more than a month ago. No word on when that will take place.
Baltimore City is down dozens of first responders. Now we're getting a look at just how bad the situation really is. Fox 45's Jeff Abel joins us with why some are calling it a crisis. Jeff?
Well, when it comes to emergencies, the city's fire department is in a crisis. There are jobs not filled, equipment not operating, and now response times are at historic lows.
Baltimore City Fire Department, 0700 hours. The following units are out of service. Truck 5, Truck 8.
You are listening to the sounds of a crisis.
Engine 4, Engine 5, Engine 13, Engine 20.
This was the announcement from dispatchers on Saturday.
Engine 55, Avo 23, Avo 24, Avo 25.
They were sounding the alarm about a laundry list of fire equipment which was out of service, and not necessarily because the equipment was broken.
Engine 6. Engine 8.
This equipment was out because there was no one to operate it.
Medic 6, Medic 8, Medic 10, Medic 27, out of service manpower.
Our members are getting burned out,
Matt Koster is president of the Firefighters Union, who says staffing is at critically low levels. Currently, the city has 130 vacancies for firefighters, 63 for paramedics, and those currently on staff are reaching a breaking point.
They're not going to sign up for overtime every weekend in the summer. It's not going to happen.
It's no secret we have a huge workload.
At City Hall last month, Baltimore's acting fire chief admitted that firefighters are leaving for other departments faster than the city can replace them.
More money and less work. So that's the problem we have. Just trying to keep our folks here and just have them motivated to stay.
But as the city steps up recruitment, the losses keep growing. And the result?
Engine 6. Engine 8.
More equipment out of service, more residents at risk.
When you call, if your house catches on fire and a unit's not in service, then the next unit has to respond from further away.
Avo 25, Avo 26, out of service manpower.
Well, administrators say they did ask City Hall for a slice of the $641 million in federal COVID funding, which it recently received. But so far it has been awarded nothing. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Coming up on Fox 45 News at 10, heated debates going on in Anne Arundel County over a proposed policy change that would restrict what flags teachers can display in classrooms. We hear from both sides. And another shooting rocks a North Baltimore community after a recent mass shooting just yards away. What's being done to curb violent crime in that neighborhood? And right after the break, the results of a Project Baltimore investigation 1 year later. The progress for families who say the school system violated their rights.
It started with one Baltimore City mother who came forward with a stunning story despite missing most of the school year. Her son was marked present for classes he was not attending, given grades for work he had not done.
When 3 other families came forward with similar stories, Fox 45 News exposed a much bigger problem. Project Baltimore's Chris Papp shows us what happened in the year since then.
4 Baltimore City students with disabilities. Each one had their federal education rights violated when city schools did not provide them with the education that they deserve. But after Project Baltimore first told their stories, Quante, Shy, Darian, and Braylon began receiving the services they need. And now, 1 year later, we've learned that's not all that's changed.
So this is Mom garden.
School's out.
No, that one purple, and that one pink.
Summer
And I could see
is in full bloom.
orange and yellow and red, same old thing.
And 8-year-old Darian Flood
Oh, these?
just finished 2nd grade.
Yeah.
But 1 year ago,
2, 3.
life was not so sweet.
I feel like I've been humiliated to actually have to come forth and share my life, his life.
Whitney Davis is Darian's mother.
Because these were very hard moments for not just myself, but my family and him as well.
Darian has epilepsy and suffers regular seizures. He requires a full-time private duty nurse at school.
This one is a little crooked, but it's okay. Just keep going.
So when his mother first contacted Project Baltimore in May 2022, she was desperate.
What about your last name? Is this your last name?
Darian was a 1st grader at Pimlico Elementary in Northwest Baltimore, but he had missed nearly the entire school year because Baltimore City schools did not provide him with a nurse, which is part of his federally mandated IEP, or Individualized Education Program. At the time, Darian's report card showed he was attending class, even when his mother said he was sitting at home with her. And Project Baltimore obtained timesheets for a nurse who claimed to be caring for Darian at school, even though he was in the hospital. Davis says the school system never explained why. The sources tell Fox 45 state agencies are investigating.
We don't have answers, and I'm pretty sure that we'll never have any.
But what Darian does have,
Those are the chills I need.
is a nurse. At Pimlico, he is now getting the services he needs, but he's far behind.
He's at a 1st grade level academically and at 3rd grade, which is, I think, is unfair to him. I like to think that I've been somewhat of an inspiration to other moms who feel lost and done wrong by the public school system.
Yes, I'm very worried about him.
Patrice Proctor is one of those moms.
Nothing. He just was home with me.
Yes.
Patrice's son, Braylon Scott, also has epilepsy. And back in 2022, the state found city schools violated his federal education rights by not providing him with a nurse to attend school.
You can look. Come on.
Braylon's family has moved to Baltimore County. His mom told Fox 45, in his new school, he is receiving the services laid out in his IEP. But similar to Darian, he is far behind in his education.
Who's the 5?
What, 5 or 4?
Shy Waddle is making up for lost time, too.
It has been a tremendous change.
Shy's mother, Ebony Frisbee, says her son is now getting the services he needs and is thriving at his new school, Callaway Elementary.
Exactly. Thank you. And it's really fulfilling. I feel like such a proud mom. Like, yay, the fight is, it went somewhere.
Looking back, Frisbee can see the fight paid off, but it came at great expense.
The time off from work, how that affected me greatly. The time away I'm spending from my child to trying to get what he needs. He missed like almost a whole year of school. I shouldn't have had to go through so many obstacles to get something that legally, lawfully, he's supposed to have. Hey, wait, Shy.
When Project Baltimore first met Frisbee, Shy had missed 96 straight days of school. And just like the other students, his report card showed he was marked present.
It's been falsified.
Frisbee was never given a reason for the falsified report cards. North Avenue told Fox 45 some schools did not follow proper grading protocol and were held accountable. But we never learned what that meant. When a former city principal told us the report cards were falsified to secure funding, the The superintendent refused to address the allegation.
Powerful allegation. The allegation is that you're falsifying report cards.
Continue to submit questions, we'll answer those.
You'll answer that question?
Absolutely, Chris. Make sure you submit it. So good to see you.
My biggest takeaway from this whole thing is that for any parent that's struggling with Baltimore City schools, I recommend speak out. The more of us that speak out about it, the more something is bound to change. We all come together and we all work together for our children, because they are our tomorrow.
Finally, there's Quante Spearman. Quante missed the first 140 days of his junior year because city schools could not supply him with a nurse. Like the other 3 students, the state found Quante's federal education rights were violated. But after Project Baltimore told his story, his mother says her son began receiving his services. And earlier this month, Quante graduated, the class of 2023. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Are you a parent concerned about your child's education? Do you have a story you want Project Baltimore to investigate? We want to hear from you. Call the tip line number right there on your screen or send us an email.
We're heading in the wrong direction.
When you have the American flag, that's for everyone.
The debate is on over what flags can be displayed in Anne Arundel County classrooms, what a new policy would do, and the voices on both sides.
Republicans continuing to turn up the heat on Attorney General Merrick Garland. I'm Kayla Gaskins with why they say impeachment may be on the table.
And a pretty incredible evening of severe weather for areas Baltimore north and east. Take a look at some of these reports coming in with about 24 reports of downed trees and power lines throughout the Towson area. Also some trees down around Abingdon. And also more trees down around Bologna Avenue and Joppa Road, as well as Sanzo Road and Pikesville, even damaging a structure there, and lots of hail. I'm going to let you know if we've got another round of storms on the way for tomorrow that could be severe. It's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Threats of impeaching Attorney General Merrick Garland increasing among House Republicans. Speaker Kevin McCarthy now appears to be willing to entertain the idea.
National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
Republicans turning up the heat against Merrick Garland.
If it comes true what the IRS whistleblower is saying, we're going to start impeachment inquiries on the Attorney General.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy willing to take this route by July 6th if IRS whistleblower testimony is proven true.
These are IRS long-term workers who've been through it and watched the abuse of power of how Hunter Biden was treated.
Last week, Congress publishing testimony from a pair of IRS agents working the case of President Biden's son Hunter, alleging the Justice Department had a heavy hand protecting the first son during the federal investigation into his tax and gun crimes.
We should impeach Merrick Garland. He's clearly abusing the power of his position.
Garland staunchly defending his Justice Department.
This constitutes an attack on an institution that is essential to American democracy and essential to the safety of the American people. Nothing could be further from the truth.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries tweeting, "We will not be lectured about the judicial system by insurrectionist sympathizers who embrace lawlessness and disorder." Republicans' discontent stemming in part from the perceived differences in how the FBI and DOJ treated Hunter Biden compared with former President Donald Trump. Garland, not the only one caught in the GOP's crosshairs. Last month, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene moved to impeach FBI Director Christopher Wray, saying Wray has turned the FBI into Joe Biden and Merrick Garland's personal police force. The crisis at the southern border spurring House GOP members to file articles of impeachment against President Joe Biden and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer continuing to describe Attorney General Merrick Garland as corrupt, doubling down on his committee's investigation into the legality of the First Family's international business deals. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
A North Baltimore community shaken after another shooting just a week after a mass shooting. What's being done to curb crime in that neighborhood?
President Biden's approval rating at less than 50%, how he's trying to garner support for his re-election campaign. We are following three big stories at 10:30.
Just over a week after a mass shooting rocked a North Baltimore community, police are investigating another shooting in the same community. How residents are reacting and what's being done to keep the neighborhood safe.
A big deadline is coming up when it comes to the blueprint for Maryland's future. What will happen in the next few days?
Controversy and heated debate in Anne Arundel County over what teachers can display in classrooms as school system leaders consider a policy that would effectively ban certain flags.
And we begin there. The Anne Arundel County School Board heard public comment on that policy tonight. That meeting's still going on right now.
Before the meeting began, Fox 45 News spoke with protesters on both sides of the issue.
For me, having a pride flag and a Black Lives Matter flag enables me to meet the social emotional needs of students. And if their social emotional needs are not met, they're not learning anything.
We're heading in the wrong direction. It's just becoming more and more limiting. And I think any good teacher knows that, a strong classroom is a classroom that can teach to all.
We always only had the United States flag in our classroom. And I really think that's what we need to do.
When you have the American flag, that's for everyone. Other flags divide and they categorize people, which brings confusion and also division and animosity. And so sticking with the American flag cuts out the confusion and helps the students to focus and be united.
Fox 45's Olivia Dance has a closer look at what the proposal could do.
In Anne Arundel County, a decision is looming over a new policy in public schools.
I would be outraged and sad.
The display of flags policy would limit the number of flags that could be displayed on school property.
And limits the display of flags other than the American, Maryland, Anne Arundel County, and Annapolis City flags to those with a bona fide educational purpose as determined by the principal or the principal's designee.
If passed, it would ban the LGBTQ pride flag from being displayed in all of the 127 school buildings.
I'm opposed to it because some of our students are not seen and heard in their communities or in their households. And it is very important that they feel part of the community.
Dana Schallheim, Anne Arundel County School Board member representing District 5, is against the policy as it stands now.
What I see is a trampling of First Amendment rights here. We have the right to free speech. We have the right to freedom of expression. That does not get eliminated in whole when you step into our school buildings.
Schallheim also has concerns with how the policy would be enforced and what defines a flag as having an educational purpose. The policy was first introduced during a board meeting last month.
I think that a lot of people probably understand that I was the board member who wanted to see this policy created, and I am very proud of that. But I will also say that it's not because of any reason other than constituents coming to me with concerns.
Corinne Frank, the board member pushing for the policy, says there were concerns brought to her about disruptions in school related to flags. A similar policy was passed in Carroll County schools last year, banning pride flags. After the policy was first introduced in Anne Arundel County, a 30-day public comment period began, and over 1,000 comments were submitted, both in favor and against the policy. For example, one comment reads in part, quote, "Thank you for this common sense policy. The flags for the USA and Maryland cover all students." Another comment saying, "Please allow students to display whatever flag they want as long as hate is not displayed," end quote. A third reader and final vote on the policy will take place on July 12th, which is when the superintendent will also offer a recommendation. The superintendent hasn't taken a stance yet, but discussed the policy during the meeting last month.
We need policies and programs that help us foster environments where our students are accepted, provided access, and feel supported.
Reporting in Annapolis, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
The school board did not make any amendments to the plan tonight. A vote is expected during its next meeting. Fox 45 News will continue to follow this developing story and keep you updated both on air and online. But we want to hear from you. Should there be a restriction on flags in classrooms? So far, 92% of those who voted say yes. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Well, the state board assigned to implement the blueprint for Maryland's future expects to receive education plans from every school in the system in the state by next Thursday, July 6th. The Kerwin plan, as it's also known, was passed back in 2021. It'll pump $30 billion additional tax dollars into public education statewide over the first 10 years, and then an additional $4 billion every year after that. The plans that school systems submit must show how they are working to meet the requirements of the blueprint.
We're in the process of analyzing those. And by the end of next month, that is July, around the 27th of July, we will make a recommendation as to whether or not they have fulfilled the requirements of the initial blueprint.
Well, now that the bill for the Kerwin plan is coming due, taxpayers aren't really happy about it. A poll from the Maryland Public Policy Institute shows 63% of Marylanders oppose the tax increases that are needed to fund education spending. Baltimore City alone is paying $67 million more dollars than it had planned on. Leaders across the state have sounded the alarm about the spending. Mayor Scott called it a gut punch. Taxpayer watchdog David Williams says lawmakers need to make a change before taxpayers face consequences like program cuts and tax increases.
What needs to happen is that the state legislature, they need to go back to the drawing board, figure out a way to slow the implementation of it and make sure that taxpayers aren't on the hook for an education system that is requiring billions upon billions of dollars more in taxpayer funding.
You can find more on the blueprint for Maryland's future and the concerns over its price tag on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Turning now to a city in crisis, Baltimore police investigating a shooting in North Baltimore. It happened just yards away from the site of a mass shooting 10 days ago. A 37-year-old man was hurt. Police say he isn't telling them what happened.
After the mass shooting, residents called for more to be done to stop the violence. Now that it's happened again, their concerns are growing louder.
Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has the story.
We need help. We are willing to roll up our sleeves.
That's Pastor Stevie Thompson.
We put Band-Aids on a lot of the solutions and the problems.
Standing outside Wilson Park Christian Community Church after yet another shooting was reported in this North Baltimore neighborhood. This one just across the street on York Road.
Neighbors and people on the street has been talking to me. I heard about what took place.
Police say they were called to the 4600 block of York Road around 1 Saturday morning, and at the scene found a 37-year-old man sitting on the porch of a home with gunshot wounds to his upper back and arm. Investigators say the victim wouldn't say what happened. The violence of frustration. Just last week,
It's a bullet.
just a week ago and less than a block away, 6 people, including 2 teens, were shot in a mass shooting at this bus stop.
You have no idea what that's like to stand over my son and try to have him look me in the eyes and focus and hold on to life.
That mother telling Fox 45 News her son remains in the hospital with a long recovery ahead.
There's a crisis in this city.
Days after the mass shooting, Pastor Thompson hosted a community meeting to discuss the violence and other issues such as blight and trash and solutions.
People are tired. They're tired. They're frustrated. They're scared.
Councilman Mark Conway, who represents the district, attended the meeting and brought up the community's concerns during last week's public safety hearing.
So that when something happens.
Acting Police Commissioner Rich Worley says the department is working to address the open-air drug market, speaking to the ability to now issue citations, as well as enhancing a police presence.
What is a deployment strategy? What is it deploying? You know, a lot of questions about that.
This community in need of more immediate results, including, the pastor says, from the city and available resources.
We want to be invited to the table for some of the decisions that's being made with these millions of dollars that's being tossed around the city. We want to have our voice heard.
Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
New developments in the Marilyn Mosby trial tonight. Court filings show her public defenders may renew a request from her previous attorneys for a change of venue. The indication comes as both the prosecution and defense request changes to pretrial deadlines. In January, the court denied a request from Mosby's previous defense team to move the trial to Greenbelt, arguing local media coverage would have too much of an impact on a Baltimore trial. The former city state's attorney is accused of perjury and making false statements on mortgage applications. Mosby has maintained her innocence. Meanwhile, President Joe Biden is focusing on the economy in his re-election campaign, calling it Bidenomics. The White House announced administration leaders will be crisscrossing the country, touting their economic successes in a tour starting today. It seems voters aren't buying it, though. The residents' Real Clear Politics approval average only sits at 42%. Republican candidates are hoping to use that frustration, aiming at issues where they say the administration is falling flat.
Joe Biden, in my opinion, John, is an awful president, and we can't afford to have him from age 82 to 86 in the White House, or even worse, have Kamala Harris assume the presidency. That's the stakes here.
Here's the bottom line. By investing in America, we are delivering results. More than 13 million jobs created since I took office.
Well, candidates across the board will likely focus more on their economic message. It's polling as the most important issue to voters.
Optional testing. I'm Angela Brown in Washington, D.C. More changes in college admissions as the Supreme Court gets ready to release a major ruling on affirmative action. That story next.
And here it comes again. More showers and thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to let you know what the chances are that they turn severe again. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.